In this video, we're going to look at the Chiefs versus Dolphins in the wild card game. The play calling for this game was just weird. Instead of opening it up and throwing it downfield or taking advantage of man-to-man, they ran two run plays to start the game. Mostert really didn't look decisive. He looked slow. The offensive line was really getting blown back, and it really just didn't work at all. So let's take a look at why this wasn't successful. Right off the snap, the Chiefs linemen are pushing the Dolphins O-line back. You can even see here that the left guard gets turned sideways. The left end here is completely unblocked, and Mostert is slow in his run because he really has nowhere to go. The Dolphins O-line wasn't great this season, but in this opening series in this game, they may have been their worst so far. And then on the third down, they just threw a screen pass. They didn't open it up to Tyreek Hill at all. They didn't throw it. They just tried on a long third down pass. It seemed to be very conservative. So let's look at why this play call wasn't the greatest. In a third and long, you are less likely to get man coverage, especially when you have speedy wide receivers. They can sit back in their zones and rally and make a tackle, especially when you're backed up and unlikely to go for it on a fourth down. Here the Chiefs play safe zones, and once the screen pass is made, the back seven rally to the tackle, leaving them plenty short of the first down. In this kind of situation, it probably would be good to have some deep crossers or some more intermediate routes, so that way you're more likely to pick up a long gain on third and long. The Dolphins did have some good plays though. Here on the Tyreek touchdown, you can see that he goes and gets open on man-to-man coverage, and Tua kind of just throws it up there. It's really short, and fortunately Tyreek makes a great adjustment to it, and the defender doesn't really see it, because otherwise that could definitely have been an interception. And so when you see him throw it, he's like facing Tyreek instead of like squaring up, and so he can deliver with power, and it really just floats up there, and they're kind of lucky actually to get a touchdown here. So I want to go ahead and go over this throw a little bit and pause it right here. So I go over this in a lot more detail in my Josh Allen deep ball video, but essentially you want to be standing a little more than shoulder width apart, with your shoulder facing the target, with your front foot a little to the left in Tua's case because he's left-handed. Then you step into the throw, rotate your body through the throw, and in this case, Tua barely steps forward. His chest is facing the target, and so he only can rotate like halfway through and has to use his arm to throw deep, rather than using the momentum of the rotation. And so because of this, his pass floats and is nearly 10 yards shorter than it could have been if he threw it correctly. And we all know you can't overthrow Tyreek Hill. The other important thing is that he doesn't really throw like this, so he doesn't really have a lot of experience of trying to make these kind of off-platform type throws. Alright, so let's transition to the series in the second quarter, where the Dolphins had a turnover on downs. So this is a 3rd and 1 play to Mostert, where he throws it on a quick screen, and the pass is a little further in front of Mostert than he was expecting, and it's dropped. So let's break down this throw from Tua a little more. We can see that when he goes to throw, rather than planting his feet first, having a strong base, and delivering the throw with power, so that way the defenders have less time to react, his mechanics are not as purposeful, and the pass is slower than it could have been. So instead of driving off his back foot, he really kind of shuffled his feet and threw sort of while he was still in the motion. In these types of short scripted passes, delivering everything correctly is super important, and Tua definitely could have made this throw a little better on this one. Now on the 4th and 1 play, Tua is again in the shotgun, surveys downfield, but everyone is covered, and he tries to fit it into Tyreek across the middle, but it is knocked out for an incompletion. The route combinations here aren't really the best for a 4th and 1 situation. Waddle is basically going on a go route. The short routes by motion the tight ends are covered, and they kind of just stop moving. Maybe the plan is for the throw to be quick, but Tyreek is open, but Tua is late, looking in his direction, and it is missed. There is the potential for him to run and try to run out of the pocket and escape the linebacker, or maybe even stay in the pocket and wait for Tyreek to go across the middle, but he tries to fit into the tight window, and it just doesn't work here. Next, I want to look into a sack that Tua got, and although he definitely has things to clean up, when his offensive line isn't able to protect him, it makes it just that much harder. Here we have Tua in the shotgun again, and he bumbles the ball for a second, and by the time he recovers, he is hit hard by the end for the big sack. So let's take a look at this sack. Obviously, it's not great to bobble the ball, but his right tackle is pretty much, from the start, just driven right back into him and is sacked within 2.5 seconds. Unless Tua has his first read open, it's going to be very difficult to deliver the ball that quickly. Now let's look at the routes. Of course, Tyreek being jammed and slipping doesn't help, but even if Tua had more time, I just don't see anywhere for him to go. Maybe he drops it off to the running back and hope that he makes a guy miss, but throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage and hoping that someone misses isn't really a great way to run a play. Now to finish up, we have the interception in the first quarter. Here Tua is again in the shotgun. He stays in the pocket, but overthrows the receiver, which is picked off by the defensive back. Looking at it more closely, we can see that Tua isn't really navigating the pocket when he is getting pressure. He is shuffling his feet when he goes to throw, and his feet aren't set. He's leaning backwards, and the ball sails on him. Thinking back to the throwing mechanics we talked about earlier, because Tua isn't really moving his body positioning in line with his reads, he either must switch his read before the receiver is open, so that way he can change his positioning when he anticipates someone becoming open for the pass, or he has to make an unbalanced throw. Unfortunately here, his mechanics make a routine throw really difficult. The defensive tackle does get pressure up the middle in this play, right into Tua's face, but they're about 3 seconds from snap to throw, and it's not really realistic to expect an offensive lineman to be able to keep pass rushers from getting pressure in that amount of time. So did Tua have a bad game? Yeah. Was he helped out by McDaniel's play calling early on? Not really. Does Miami's offensive line need to improve? Most definitely. This offseason, they are likely not going to be able to make a ton of free agency moves because of the cap situation, so hitting on 2 or 3 of these draft picks this year is going to be critical. If they can replace some of their weaker spots after cuts with good players and rookie deals, it'll really help them to improve in 2024, but also set themselves up to be healthier in cap moving forward. So Dolphins fans, what are you the most concerned with going into the 2024 season? Let me know where you would target in the draft, any players you think would look good in a Dolphins uniform, and I will see you in the next one.